Greetings from the far side of the galaxy, I'm Furry, your host most doing another one of these videos way sooner than I expected. Listen, if I knew the autumn sale would happen so quickly after Anthrofest, I still would have made the video, but whatever. And also, I must say, do be sure to share this video with your friends and stuff because this video goes up on Sunday, October 5th. This sale ends October 6th, so make sure all your friends know about it so they can buy these games. The first game I'm recommending to you all will be Tunic. Tunic is a Zelda-like, which is pretty cool because you don't see many games like Zelda, but the most interesting thing about Tunic is that you're told nothing. There's no guide, no path, no nothing. The only thing you're given is an instruction manual in-game, but this instruction manual isn't written in any real language. There's bits and details that you can read, but most of what you're going to be understanding is from the pictures. It creates this amazing feeling for when you do finally figure out the puzzles and figure out what to do. Like, I can only imagine this is what it felt like to be a child in, like, 1998 or whatever, playing the original Legend of Zelda. It creates this unique experience that you won't get anywhere else. But at the same time, at a certain point during your playthrough, you'll realize that, oh my god, this is everything. Everything in this game is obscure and vague, and after a certain point, you're just going to want to end up, like, banging your head against the wall, because, like, oh my god, just tell me, please, just tell me. I rate this game like a 9 out of 10, but you cannot pay me enough money to play it again. Or, well, actually you could, I do accept video commissions. The next game I'd like to recommend you is Night in the Woods. Night in the Woods is actually a very important game to me. It came out during a very vulnerable period of my life, but that's not the point. The point is that Night in the Woods follows this college dropout named May as she returns to her podunk town in the middle of nowhere, Possum Springs. The game takes itself very slowly, where 90% of what you'll be doing is hanging out with one of your friends, either Greg or Beatrice. And their stories are very good, exploring different kinds of vulnerability of what it's like to grow up in a small town. But then there's the main plot of the dark and dangerous things going on in Possum Springs and how the supernatural is beginning to bleed through. I really don't want to spoil the plot too much because the game is essentially a visual novel if it was a platformer, so the plot is very important. This game and Tunic were published by the same people, that being Finji, and on Steam they are part of the Finji bundle if you want to buy them together. The next game I'd like to talk about is one I streamed, and it's called Mercury Abbey. Mercury Abbey follows the struggling author Herod and his nephew Willie as they both take a trip to the sanatorium known as Mercury Abbey. But something strange is going on, something real strange. The people who work there aren't what they seem, and even beyond that, there's way deeper secrets bursting forth from the ground. The game is a 2D puzzle game, and it does its job very well. I won't say the puzzles are easy, but there are plenty of mechanics used to make them more smooth and easier to follow. It's simple stuff, like being able to open your notes while you're doing a puzzle. It makes the game very easy and smooth to play through, which is on top of having a very nice story. The next game I'd like to talk about is another 2D puzzle game, and it's called Threefold Recital. The game follows three protagonists, that being Charatna, the wolf-turned-monk, Tai King, the fox-turned-priest, and Trunzia, the snake-turned-artist. The three haven't met up in a long time, but through circumstance, they all end up getting caught in the same mystery. They all want to know who is making this magic dragon ink, but little do they know that they will be the ones to decide the fate of their entire city. The game is honestly a genuine gem that I'm mad more people haven't played. I played it a while ago and it went down in history as one of my favorite games of all time. What makes this game so special to me is that the writing is really good. The game is built around a lot of plot twists that all happen towards the end, and it leaves so many different seeds and details that you only pick up on in retrospect. And it's made even better by the game having a genuine sense of humor, like all the names are jokes, from Potato, General Zoe the Rooster. I absolutely recommend you check this one out. This game, alongside Mercury Abbey, are also part of another bundle you can get on Steam. Here's the part of the video where I ask you to like and subscribe, and also point out that I have Ko-fi and Patreon with a link in the description. The next game on our list will be another 2D platformer, and I really don't know why. It's not like I've been playing them recently, I've been playing the new Digimon game. It's an indie project under the name of Tribal Hunter. You play as Munch, the newly awakened island guardian, who takes a big bite out of Kirby's book and decides the best way to do that is by eating everything. which ties into the central mechanic of Tribal Hunter, that being Munch's weight. At his lightest, Munch is better at jumping but hits weaker. At his heaviest, he hits harder but can barely move. And then there's the fact that you can even game over by popping. And then you can spit stuff out as like fireballs or eggs. The game really goes all out with this simple gimmick to make a really nice Metroidvania. The visuals and the music, which you should be hearing as the background music to this video, are also really good too. The next game we'll be talking about is Dust, an Elysian tale. You play as Dust, an amnesiac swordsman caught in a war-ravaged land, guided by his, friend. I have no idea what the fuck this thing is supposed to be. Fidget. The real draw here is the gameplay being this sick cross between a hack and slash and a Metroidvania. You guys have no idea how addicting it is to see how high you can get that combo meter to climb, because oh my god. I know it's possible to get it to 100, and I'm pretty damn sure it's possible to get it all the way up to 1000. Dust is the definition of an old classic because some of its mechanics are kind of dated, but it still manages to show why it was beloved when it came out. The next game on our list is another indie. I don't know why so many furry games are indies, but it is what it is. And its name is Pipistello and the Cursed Yo-Yo. You play as the young Pipistello, the heir to Pipistello Industries, an energy company that is holding the city in a vice-like grip due to their monopoly. But none of that matters to him, because all Pipistello wants to do are cool yo-yo tricks, but things do get complicated when his aunt gets turned into a battery. And thus, it'll take all of Pipistello's cool yo-yo skills to save the day, and I'll admit, this is a very weird plot, but it does make for a great game. The game is a top-down Zelda-like, like Link's Awakening. Granted, Link's Awakening is more like a 95-degree Zelda. Well, I don't know, I was gonna call it a Zelda-like, but it's not a Zelda-like. It is just Zelda. Future Fury here. I'd also like to note that I called it Link's Awakening and not Link Between Worlds. I'm just fucking it up all day today. Anyways, the game uses the yo-yo to great effect, creating a lot of unique powers to solve a lot of unique puzzles that you wouldn't get in any other game. That's combined with a really unique and really comical world that makes Pipistello and the Cursed Yo-Yo a ton of fun to play. As for the next game we're going to talk about, that one will be Ratchet and Clank, A Rift Apart. The game follows the last Lombax and his robot buddy Clank when they get the Dimensionator, a weapon that'll allow them to open rifts to travel to new dimensions. Okay, I say they get the Dimensionator, but it really ends up in the hands of their longtime enemy, Dr. Nefarious, who immediately uses it to cause problems. And that's where Ratchet and Clank meet their counterparts, Rivet and Kit, and together, the four of them must stop all of reality from falling to pieces. The game is a third-person action game, though despite being developed by Sony, it actually plays very different from just about every other one they've made. Here it's all fast and zany and incredibly cartoony, with guns that really stretch the limit of what a gun actually is. My personal favorite being the Pixelator, a shotgun that just pixelizes enemies. It's really all in the name. I do like how it even bit crushes their sound effects to make the whole thing feel more complete. Also, the game is just beautiful as fuck. It has that Wind Waker charm where it's just a cartoon that's been brought to life and fleshed out. If you're looking for a game that feels like a PS2 game brought into the modern era with all the bells and whistles and improvements, then this is definitely what you should buy. You play as an unnamed cat that stumbles upon, well, not the last bastion of humanity, more like the last bastion of the robots they created. The game is very short, focusing a lot on atmosphere and story to make an engaging experience. I played the game years ago, and even I still distinctly remember everything about it. The game's visuals are a real treat because even I was blown away with how good it looked. I do remember thinking the game wasn't really worth the $30 price tag because it was fairly short at only like 6-10 hours, but now that it's on sale I do think it's a good price. Another game that's not technically on sale because it's free that I'd like to talk about is Casey Noir and the Carved Pumpkins Latte. Casey Noir and the Carved Pumpkins Latte is a very long name. It's also a visual novel, following Casey Noir as she gets involved in a murder that was supposed to happen at this nice Halloween party. I gotta say, for a small indie novel, its production is top notch and its story did keep me engaged. It even has some point-and-click elements thrown into mix to give the gameplay some teeth, you know? I can't really speak too much about the plot of this game because the game is only like 2 hours. If I speak too much about the plot, I'll explain the entire plot. But again, the game is free as fuck and only like 2 hours long. If you don't want to spend any money on anything on this list, go ahead and give this one a try. Another small-time indie game I'd like to talk about is Crossfire. The game is a turn-based tactics, you know, like Final Fantasy The Evil's Chronicles to use its full government name. But it's also a roguelike, where you customize your loadout as you go through the levels. But neither of those things are what makes Crossfire stand out. What makes it stand out is that it's also a bit of an FPS, where you aim your shots. It's a small thing, but it does a lot to flesh out the usual tactics-based system. Because now where you put your characters is also a means of skill expression, where you're asking yourself, can I reasonably make this shot from behind this cover? I should clarify that I did receive a free key for this game, however that was a while back. I just couldn't find a good time to cover or mention this game. The game itself is pretty light on story. You're gonna have to love the combat because there's not really much else to this game. And as for the last game we'll be covering, have you ever heard of a comic series called Blacksad? You should. Made an entire video about it back in the day. Okay, I say back in the day like it wasn't just months ago, but whatever. It's set in the 1950s, following the Black Cat investigator John Blacksad. The comics cover a lot of different material, but this game specifically has a topic of sports corruption. You know, stuff like gambling, rigged games, doping, murder, and missing people's cases. The game plays a lot like, well, more like exactly like a Telltale game, so think The Wolf Among Us or The Walking Dead. However, the story here is much better than what you would get in either of those games. Like, it's not even close. You can tell this was written by the same person that did the comics because, oh my god. The real issue with this game is that you can tell it was made by a studio that was perhaps a bit too small to try something this ambitious because, wow, it is a bit, well, hella buggy sometimes. However, the game is also like $3 right now, so you know what? Who cares if the game's a little buggy? It's $3. Stop being such a greedy little bastard and stop complaining. And now that we've covered Blacksad, that's the that on that, because the video's now over. So let's go ahead and do our Patreon shoutouts. For our 3 stars, we have special thanks to Johan, SkyKing64, Edison Round, Galphase, Zorchow, Fennis, Hollywood Serenade, The Good Old Days, and Stassi. For 4 stars, we have McCoy's Law and Oddly Awe, The Night to Remember. And for our super duper special 5-star shoutouts, we have Hodari Lion, The Ode to the Everlasting. Thank you for watching. Do be sure to like and subscribe. As always, this is your host Furry signing out.